Have you spoken to any of the families of his victims?
We've spoken to several, but there was only one that we've become very close friends with, the sister of one of the victims. And to this day, we remain good friends with her.
If those families are watching this now on television, is there anything you want to say to them, either from you or on Jeff's behalf?
Well, I'm extremely, very, very sorry that it happened to their loved ones. And if I could have done anything to prevent it, I would have. And I would ask them to forgive Jeff for what he did. He's paid the price, I believe now. That doesn't lessen their hurt, but ask their forgiveness. Like Teresa said to me, Lionel, I forgive. When he was murdered, Teresa said to me, Lionel, I forgive Jeff.
Do you forgive him?
Yeah, I forgive him now. I mean, it's really horrible to think of, to try to keep thinking of all the things he did, but even though he did all these horrible things, we forgive St. Paul for all the people that he killed in the name of God, in the name of Judaism. He was forgiven completely. And so if God can forgive, which is demonstrated in the scriptures, if God can certainly forgive St. Paul, the teaching is, of course, that anyone can be forgiven.
How about Lionel? Do you forgive him for his shortcomings in this drama and tragedy?
I'm not sure. I guess I was a little bit naive. I didn't think enough about, I was concentrating too much out of the premise that everything right with the spouse would automatically cause things to fall in place with the family. I just wish I had been I had a little bit more smarts to feel that I should be putting some of that effort with my son.
Do you think, in retrospect, that there were red flags, there were warning signs that you missed?
There definitely were warning signs that I missed, but I didn't believe it, or it's hard to believe. It really is. I'll give you one example. When he was about somewhere in the 11, 12 to 14 age range, he roamed around the country roads where we lived and gathered on his bike with big plastic bags the remains of various animals, foxes, small dogs, animals that had been killed on the road, and took them back home. And ours was extremely heavily wooded lot, a very rough terrain, where he did, as I found out later, at the time of his so-called insanity trial, found out for the first time there that he did this. And he kept these animals and felt them, explored them, their insides, their entrails, and terrible things like that. Although I've had friends who have told me they've done the same sort of thing, but that would have been a red flag. This shows Jeff at a very, very early age. He had such a sweet disposition, sweet baby breath, and he was always happy. Christmas time was always a very happy time. It was a time when there were no real arguments. Jeff was always happy at Christmas time because there was a lot of things to eat. Easter was always important to him because he got his chocolate bunny. Thanksgiving was always spent with my family, and there was always a lot of love and attention given to Jeff. Jeff would always run towards me and jump in my arms. I would frequently carry Jeff on my shoulders or ride around on the handlebars of my bicycle. At this point, he's less than 7 years old, and he didn't go into his period of shyness until that point. Jeff, Dave, and his mother were happy, and I was happy that Jeff liked him and accepted him. They were 7 years apart, so I wouldn't say that they were extremely close in interests, but they did things together. Jeff really loved Frisky. He just loved the way Frisky paid attention to him and licked him and romped around with him. Jeff always had an interest in nature. He was very inquisitive. He liked biology class and in school, and we did several things together for science fair. This is at Grandma Dahmer's house.
He loved his grandmother dearly.
Yeah.
He knew it was unconditional love.
Yeah.
Grandma never judged anything. He was just loved.
Packed his lunch when he went to work, when he was staying with her in Milwaukee. Made dinner for him. Was always concerned about everything he did. Jeff did a lot of riding on his bike on the rural roads. That's the bicycle that we learned that he had used with big plastic bags to travel around the rural roads to pick up roadkill. He was 12 to 14 years old. The happy little boy. And yet this was when he was 12 years old. So it was sort of at the beginning of this strange association between roadkill and his sexual urges. Things were forming in his mind that you can't see just by looking at a picture. He looks like a happy youth there.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.